everybody, I'm Sarah at Missouri Star, and in this tutorial we're going to be making the 45s tote bag. I think it's adorable. It's a little throwback to my childhood when I still had a turntable and record singles would come out and you'd have those cute little 45 records that you could play. It really ties in well with our birthday bash theme with the 50s sock hop. And I just think it's super cute. I love the embroidery on these that mimics that little spacer you'd have to put in your 45 so that it would fit on your turntable. And I love the construction of this little bag too. And you could make this bag out of any crochet, granny square, or motif that you like. I'll show you how we put it all together as we get going. What will you need for this project? Well, we're using Barocco Comfort Chunky yarn. This is 50% fine nylon and 50% fine acrylic. So it's totally washable and dryable. And we're using 4 colors, the licorice, the gray, the rosebud, and I think this is deep teal, but all of those details will be at the link below. We are also using a J 6mm crochet hook, whatever style crochet hook works for you. You'll need scissors, a tapestry needle, stitch markers come in handy if you have a bunch when we start to put this together. Much like clips when you're putting together your quilts, just something to sort of hold everything together when we go to stitch it all together. Those are our materials. Let's hop into the actual work of the crochet. I'm going to start with the rosebud color. This sort of becomes the label. Oh, I've got a lot of extra yarn here. Where's my end? Sometimes the end comes out with a lot of extra yarn. It happens that way sometimes. It's all right. So the pink becomes the label on this little record. So you could change that up. You could do all different colors for all different labels. But we're sticking with our birthday bash theme here. And I'm going to start with a magic ring. So I'm going to wrap the tail to my right. I'm going to wrap that around my fingers once, twice, and then I'm going to tuck that tail between my 2 fingers. I'm going to reach under those 2 rounds with my crochet hook, grab my working yarn, pull it through. That doesn't count as anything yet. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through 1. That's a chain 1. Now that that's all locked in place, I can drop that loop off my fingers and I'm going to chain 2 more because we want to start with a chain 3. So that's our chain 3. It counts as a double crochet, and then we want 11 more double crochets into this ring. So if you think about this ring like a donut, we're going to work right into the donut hole and we're going to do 11 double crochets. We want 12 stitches when we're done. Remember that chain 3 that we started with counts as one of the double crochets. So we only have to make 11 more to get our 12 stitch count. I think I've got 4 more to go. It goes pretty quick. And these little records were really sort of fun to make. All right, I'm going to stop and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One more. This is one of my favorite ways to start a crochet motif in the round. So right now it looks kind of like a rainbow and not a circle. That's all right. I'm going to make that loop a little bit bigger and get my hook out of the way just so that it's easier to show you this. So here at the bottom of our little rainbow there are 2 strands. That's from the double loop that we made when we started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to hold on to these stitches. I'm not pinching them, I'm just holding them so that they don't move. And when I pull on this tail, you'll see one of those strands gets shorter. Now I know that that's the one I want to pull on. So I want to pull on it the same side that the tail comes from, and I want to pull underneath this longer, looser strand. And I'm still holding those stitches. I'm not preventing this from coming through, I'm just holding the stitches still. So I'm going to start to pull this shorter strand, and that makes the longer strand shorten up, and you keep pulling and you keep pulling until that center gets nice and tight. I've only been pulling from this side. I haven't been pulling equally on the bottom, only from this side, and that's what made that other strand disappear. Now I'm going to go back to the tail, and I'm just going to pull, and that tightens it right up. See? Now we're back to a Pac-Man shape. That's okay. I'm going to put my hook back in that loop, tighten that loop back up, and then I'm going to go to the top of that chain 3 that we started with, and I'm going to wiggle my way through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through. That's a slip stitch. That's what turns that little Pac-Man into a circle. Now for our second round, we're going to chain 2. This counts as a double crochet. We're going to do a double crochet back in the same place. What do I mean by that? This chain 2 comes from where we did that slip stitch that joined the first round, and that's down here. So that's where I'm going to go back to for this second double crochet. And in this round, round 2, we're going to do 2 double crochets in every stitch around. So now we want to go to the next stitch. And if you look real quick, it looks like this here is the next stitch, but that's not it. Our next stitch likes to hide behind this double crochet that we just did. Do you see that little bit of yarn that goes across here? That's the top of this double crochet here. This one over here is the top of this double crochet here. So your second stitch is actually right there. See that? So that's where we're going to do double crochet 3 and 4. Once you get 3 in there, 4 goes in nice and easy. So those first 2 stitches of the second round are a little tricky. And it's okay, take your time and really try to look at this and start to recognize those spots, because we're going to do a bunch more rounds and the beginning of the rounds are always going to look like that. So then the rest of this round, the stitches are pretty easy to find. You're going to put 2 in every stitch around in this second round. And when you've got 24 stitches, meet me back here and we'll join it together. Once you've got those 24 stitches, and you want to stop and count and make sure that you've got 24. Remember, the chain 2 that you started with counts as a stitch, because if you don't have your 24 here, that's going to throw off your counts on the subsequent round. So make sure that you have your count right here. If anybody told you that you didn't have to count in crochet, they lied to you. You have to count your stitches. So 24 stitches in this round. I'm going to go to the top of that chain 2, right through the heart of that chain, and do a slip stitch to join. And that is the little label for our record. So that's it. That's the pink. I'm just going to cut my yarn. I'm going to yarn over, pull all the way through until that tail pops out, give it a little tug. That's the label for our little record. Now you could assembly line this and get all 10 of your squares done. You need 10 squares for this bag. Get all 10 of these little pink rounds done and then move on to the actual black vinyl section of the square, or you can make each square from beginning to end. It's up to you. I tend to do assembly line. I'll make 10 of these, then I'll do 10 of the vinyl in the black, then I'll finish all 10 in the gray before I join them all together. But you do you. Whatever process works for you is absolutely fine. So I'm trying to find the end of this skein. Sometimes if you squish it like an accordion and wiggle your fingers in there until they meet in the middle, you get lucky-ish. That's not bad. Sometimes you get a big blop of yarn. This isn't too bad. I'll use this up, no problem. Then we just gotta find the end. There it is. All right, get all that excess out of the way. And then we're going to work on rounds 3 through 5 with this black. Now, if you don't have a nice sunny spot or a really bright light to work on when you're doing this, I recommend that you find that, because working with black yarn is tough. But it just makes so much sense in this project. All right, so here's where I finished round 2. I don't want to start where I finished. I always want to give my work a little bit of a turn. It sort of breaks up where that chain is that starts the round and makes it a little bit less visible in the final project, because those 2 stitches do look different than the rest of the double crochets. And so if you just start in a slightly different place than where you finished, it sort of camouflages that. So I'm going to go into the top of any stitch that I want. I'm going to grab my black yarn and bring it through. That doesn't count as anything. That doesn't count as anything. That's just my potential. That's just my start. And now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to hold on to both the working yarn and the tail for that first chain. It locks that tail in place, and then I can drop it behind the work. And then there's my second chain. Now I'm going to do a double crochet in that same spot. And then I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And then that's our pattern all the way around. At the end of this round, we want to have 36 stitches. So we're adding 12 stitches in this round. So in the next stitch, I'm going to do 2 double crochets. There's 1. In the stitch after that, I'm going to do just 1. And then I repeat that all the way around. 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the stitch after that, and repeat that all the way around until you've got 36 stitches. Meet me over here and we'll join this round. So I'm finishing up round 3. I have 1 double crochet left to do. There. And then I can join with a slip stitch. So it is really hard to see. Make sure you have nice bright light. I'm going to go right into the top of that chain 2 that we started with and slip stitch to join. It's starting to look a little bit like a record. Now we're going to do round 4, which starts the same way. Chain 2 and a double crochet in that same stitch. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And then 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So we're turning those 3 stitches into 4 stitches. We're going to do 2 double crochets into this next one, and then 1 by itself, and another by itself. And that's your pattern in this round. 2 double crochets in a stitch, 1 by itself, 1 by itself. 2 double crochets into the next stitch, then 1 by itself and another by itself, all the way around until you have 48 stitches. Remember that that chain 2 you start with counts as a double crochet. So when you have 48 stitches, make sure you count them. 48 stitches. When you're all the way over here, join me back here and we'll join it together. So here I am almost at the end of round 4. I just have that one last double crochet. You want to double count, double check, make sure that you've got 48 stitches, and then find the top of your chain 2 right through the heart of that chain and slip stitch. All right, I'm only going to torture you with the black yarn for one more round. Round 5 starts with chain 2, a double crochet in that same stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So if it helps you to remember your repeat, which is 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, that's 5 stitches in your repeat in round 5. So if you think back to where we started, round 1 was 12 stitches. Round 2 was 24 stitches, 2 stitches in each stitch around in round 2. Round 3, 2 double crochets together, 1 by itself. That's 3 stitches in round 3. Round 4, 2 double crochets in a stitch, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches for 4 stitches in your repeat in round 4. So here in round 5, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, then 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, That's 5 stitches in your repeat in round 5. So you're going to go all the way around, 2 double crochet together in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches until you have 60 stitches at the end of the round. Meet me here and we'll join it. All right, so here I am at the end of round 5. I have 1 double crochet left. That slip stitch in the top of my chain 2 to join. There, and now I am done with that black yarn. Thank goodness, because it's getting hard for me to see and it's very bright in here. All right, so there's our little record. Oh, is she cute? So lovely. All right, so now what we're gonna do is square out our circle. What do I mean by that? We're gonna add corners so it becomes a square shape while keeping that nice round shape in the middle, because it's really hard to join circles together to make a bag, but it's really easy to join squares together. So we've got to turn this little record into a square. And this really kind of reminds me of the record player. Let's bring in our gray. So we want to turn the work a little bit before we join the gray, just to break all of that up and camouflage it a little bit. All right, so we're going to join the yarn to any other stitch. I'm going to reach through and pull a loop of the gray through. From here, you're going to chain 2, and just like I did when I joined the black yarn, I'm going to use both the tail and the working yarn for that first chain. Then I'm going to drop the tail behind the work. Sometimes it wants to twist up on itself. And then do that second chain. So now that tail is locked in place and it's not going to come out. That's our chain 2. In the next stitch, we're going to make our first corner. So we're going to do 3 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, all in that same stitch. See that? Then we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, and then a half double crochet in the next stitch. So that's yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over, bring up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through everything. Now we're going to do single crochets in the next 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So why did I go from double crochets in the corner to single crochets along this side? That change in height helps us to keep this round record shape round in the center while giving us nice straight edges. So if you think about a circle, right, you can do that sort of straight line along here, but if you went further out to form a square, there's more spaces left. So that's why we're using the taller stitches in the corners and the shorter stitches along the sides. It helps to keep that round shape round in the middle. So now we're going to do a half double crochet, yarn over into the stitch, yarn over and bring up a loop, yarn over and pull through everything on your hook, then a double crochet in your next stitch, and then we're back to that corner. 3 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the stitch after that, and then we're back to our singles, 10 single crochets across. So you're going to repeat from that half double crochet all the way around till you get back over to this corner. And the details of that are all in your pattern. You can find that pattern or the kit for this bag at the link below, or you can go to MissouriQuiltCo.com and search for the 45s and you'll find the pattern in the kit. And if you did not come to Hamilton this year for Birthday Bash, you should definitely come next year. We have a lot of fun here for Birthday Bash. All right, keep working your way around here in round 6. Meet me back over in this corner to join. All right, I finished that 4th side on round 6. I just have a half double crochet to do, and then I can join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 2, which is a little bit easier to see in this gray yarn. Yeah. All right, that's the end of round 6. So now we're starting round 7, and that's the last round on our little record. So we're going to chain 2 again. We're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch and a double crochet in the next stitch. Actually, the next stitch is the center of our corner, so we're going to do 3 double crochets in that stitch. If it helps you to find that, because you're going to need to do 3 double crochets in the corners, this is another one of those places where stitch markers come in handy. So it's really easy to see in this transition from the black yarn to the gray yarn where this group of 3 double crochets is. So if you find that center one, just pop a stitch marker in it and do the same on all of your corners. It's sort of, it's a nice way to sort of pace out the square, and you know that, like, all right, my repeat is going to get me to the next corner. All right, so then we've got our corner that we did here, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 3 half double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do 4 single crochets through the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go back to our half doubles, 3 half double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we're back to that corner. See, there's that stitch marker right in the middle. I'll do 3 double crochets and then repeat that whole side that we just did. Again, the details of that are in the pattern. You can get a paper copy or a digital copy, or you can pick up a kit by following the link below. So I'm going to come along this side, do the next corner, this side, corner, this side. That'll be the end of round 7. So meet me over here to finish up this square. So I have 1 stitch left in round 7. That's a double crochet right here. And then we will slip stitch to the top of that chain 2 to join. Now I can cut my yarn over and pull through till that tail pops out, give it a little tug. And that is our little record on our record player. Isn't she cute? And actually, I think I'm going to weave in these ends first because that'll get them out of the way. Again, I'm just going to thread the needle. And then for this center thread, I'm just going to run it through all those middle stitches again. I mean, it's pretty well in there, but I just like to go around one more time. There. Trim that one out of the way. And then the next pink one, I fold the yarn over the eye of the needle sideways and pinch it really tight. And then when I pull the needle out, I have this little folded bit of yarn that's easy to thread into the needle. And then I'm going to go down into the body of the stitch. This crochet is so great because there's so many strands of yarn to every stitch that you can easily hide your yarn. So I'm going to go through the bottom of those stitches there, and then maybe down into this stitch here, and over here, and back up. I'm just changing direction a couple times and burying about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of yarn. There. And then I give it a little tug and that end buries itself. So you're going to want to do the same thing with the rest of your tails. Just threading them through. I know this really dark yarns can be tough. Navy blues are tough to see too. So make sure that you have a really well lit workspace when you're working on this one. Again, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of yarn worked in. Even if you crochet over the ends as you go, which I apparently did here, I don't remember doing it, but my hands have been doing it for so long that I kind of go on autopilot. Even if you work over the ends, go ahead and weave in your tail. It's just a little bit of extra security that's going to hold everything together. Just change direction a couple times. Weave in 1 inch to 1.5 inches. You can leave the tail from the very end of the square if you want, or you can weave that in now too. It's up to you. Just working my way through these stitches and back down. All right, finish weaving in your ends, and then we're gonna do some embroidery. So now that you've got all your ends woven in, we're gonna do a little bit of embroidery fun. So because these are 45 singles, those records, if you are not old enough to remember, came with a much larger hole in the middle of the vinyl, so you needed this funky little spirally spacer so that they would work on your turntable. And so I tried a couple of different things, and I just really thought that embroidery on this square really sort of brought it to life. And I'm using the teal for this. I'm going to flip this over to the back of the work, and I'm going to weave the tail in first to secure it. So I'm just going through the center of those stitches, about 3 or 4 stitches, and then I'm going to skip one strand and then go back almost all the way to where I went in. And that's usually pretty secure. So I'm going to flip this over, and this round of stitches, we're just going to do back stitch, and we're going to do back stitch about halfway up the height of the double crochets in round 1. So I'm going to come up right about there. I'm actually going to turn it this way. And so if you look at this long leg of the double crochets, we're going to stitch over one of those with every stitch that we do in this round. So I'm going to come over this long strand, but I want to stop before I get to this one. Do you see that little diagonal strand right here? That's what I use as sort of my marker for where to put my needle for this. So where that little diagonal strand touches the long strand is where I'm going to go back in. I don't use a hoop for this, and you don't want to pull your stitches tight. I'm going to come back over here and then go back in where I had come up last time. So you're working counterclockwise for this. You're coming up just before that long strand and then back down where you came up. This is not going to be a perfect circle, and that's okay. And then back down where I came up. Again, I'm coming up just on the other side of that long strand, and then back down where I came up for the last stitch. So you're going to do this all the way around. You should have 12 stitches when you're done, but you can stay here with me as we work through, or you can skip ahead if this totally makes sense and you're like, yeah, I can do a bunch of back stitches. That's fine. That's all we're doing here is 12 little back stitches. And again, they're not going to be perfect. Don't worry about it. anybody's getting down at the molecular level and analyzing your crochet and your embroidery on crochet and saying, those aren't perfectly even, you don't need to listen to them. I don't crochet for perfection. I crochet for fun. And if it's a little bit imperfect, that's kind of my proof that it was handmade, you know? Not by a machine, by a human being. And I like that. Okay, that should be 12 little back stitches. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfecto. Now we're going to move on to the next part. And this is a little bit easier because mostly we're working in this little transition area between round 1 and 2. So it's where the round 2 stitches go through the tops of the round 1 stitches. And you can see those nice big even spaces. They're great. So wherever you finished your last stitch, you're going to go to the space above that and come through easy peasy and then go back in between the 2 stitches in that little round below. Now you're going to go over to the next nice big easy space and back 1, then go to the next big easy space and back 1. I'm going to do this one more time. The next big easy space and back 1. Then we go in that same big easy space and then we come up between these 2 double crochets. So we're not working into either of the stitches, we're going right between them. And that gives us that little flip at the top. Now we're going to go to the next big easy space over and down to our first round of stitches. Then to the next big easy space and back. The next big easy space. Ooh. And back. Stop getting tangled on there. One more. Next big easy space and back. And then we go up between these 2 double crochets. So we do that one more time. We go over to the next big easy space, down into that first round, next space, and back. 2 more of those to the next space and back, to the next space and back, and then up between those double crochets. And so that gives you 3 nice little twisty, spirally spokes. And that's your 45 spacer. So then I'm just going to come over here to the back side and I'm just going to weave in one direction and then I'm just going to come back. I'm going to go over that one and then through a couple of those, and that's nice and secure. And I can snip it. Isn't that great? So cute. So you'll want to do that embroidery on all 10 of your squares, or don't. I think you could get stick and stitch. You could put that on here and you can embroider, you know, if you wanted to give your records names or labels, you could do that. You could do whatever you want. Really, it's your project. So once you've got the 10 that are all done, how do we put this together? Because it looks a little puzzly. Let me show you. You're going to start with 2 squares, corner to corner like that. Then you need a 3rd square here. The rest of your squares will be folded in half. So we're going to fold one in half and put it here. Fold one in half, put it here. in half, and it goes here, and then we fold one more half, and it goes here. That's our bag. Now granted, there'll be another 3 squares on the back side, but this is how we get the shape of our bag. So when I said you need stitch markers, this is really why you need stitch markers, and you can use any and all stitch markers that you can get your hands on, because you will need a bunch. So I like to pin them together at the corners, and if 3 of them come together in a corner, do all 3. Let's see. This one's a little tricky because there's 4 that come together in this corner, so I'm gonna clip the stitch markers together. How about that? And it really helps to do this. I know this seems like a silly sort of tedious thing, but if you get 3 or 4 of these together and you're not sure where everything else goes, it can get, you can really confuse yourself and just not know where to go next. Using your stitch markers is super helpful. All right, I'm gonna clip this one up here to here, this one here to here, and then just one more down here in the corner. There. Oh, nope. We gotta do this down here too. 1, 2, 3. Now, if I had 3 more, then I would pin those in place back here. 1, 2, 3. As you can see here, there's our 1, 2, 3, folded in half, folded in half. 1, 2, 3 more on the back side. So, how do I actually put these together? It's so easy. It's so easy. Again, I'm using this teal color, which I just really think pops against the pink. And I'm gonna start right here. So where these 2 squares come together, I'm gonna put them wrong sides together, just like that. I'm gonna take this stitch marker out of the way for now, and I'll put it back when I'm done. All right, so where these 3 double crochets are, I'm gonna start in that center one, and I'm gonna find that center one on the other square too, and go through that. So you're gonna work through both layers all the way across here. I'm grabbing the teal, I'm gonna pull up a loop, doesn't count as anything yet, remember. I'm gonna chain 1, I'm gonna use both the tail and the working yarn just so that that tail is locked in place. And then I'm gonna do a single crochet in that same stitch. You can tug that tail to tighten it up a little bit. And then I'm just gonna single crochet my way across. So I'm working through both layers, and it's a single crochet. Both layers, and you're just single crocheting your way across. Just like that. And that's how you join all of the squares together. Just single crocheting your way across through both layers. Everywhere there are 2 sides that join. And so this is why all of those stitch markers are really handy, because this looks like a giant weird like towel until it's all put together. And the stitch markers really help you to keep the construction sort of straight in your head. There's also a schematic for all of this in the pattern, so Don't worry that this is the only place that you're gonna have to go to try and figure out how this crazy bag goes together. There is a schematic. All right, and I'm getting to where there's like a whole bunch of stitch markers here, but I lucked out and put them through the exact right 2 stitches, so haha. All right, so I put those 2 together, and then what, then what, then what, then what, then what? This is where I will go back. That's what we just put together. So I'm gonna put this stitch marker back here just to remind me. And then what do I do? Well, then you can just keep going. You could keep going across here. You could go across here and then back down the other side. You could stop here, cut your yarn, fasten off, and then start at another corner and work your way across. So it's whatever is most comfortable for you. You could cut your yarn here, fasten off, go back here, join these 2 sides together. Go back here, join these 2 sides together. It's just wherever the edges of these meet, you're just gonna put them wrong sides together and single crochet your way across. And that's what you're gonna do for all the squares. That's how you put them all together. Once that's all done, you have to put the top edge on. And that's super simple. You're just gonna go up to the point of one of your squares, join your yarn, single crochet your way down, and then back up, and then down and back up on the other side. Here, let me show you that. See that? That's it. That's single crochet on this edge, back up, and then down and back up, so that the square is finished with that blue border, that teal border, the same as where you joined all the other squares together. Then you can add your handle, and that's super simple. You open up that side seam and you go 2 stitches on either side of that seam where you joined it, join your yarn, single crochet across 4 stitches, and then you just work single crochet back and forth across those 4 stitches until your handle measures whatever I said it is in the book. I think it's 24 inches in the pattern, or to whatever length that you like. It's really up to you, however long you want that strap to be. And that's it. That's the 45s tote. It's actually really quite roomy in here. You can get a lot in there. I think when we were doing the photo shoot, we had 2 shoe boxes in here to sort of bulk it out. But it's really cute. It fits easy on your shoulder. Like I said, it's washable and dryable because it's acrylic and nylon yarn. It's a really soft, and I love the colors. And it really fits in with our 1950s sock hop theme. So I hope that you've enjoyed crocheting the 45s tote with me. If you haven't yet, you can visit Missouri Star at MissouriQuiltCo.com or follow the link in the description below to pick up your kit or your copy of the pattern. Leave me a comment, let me know how you felt about this tutorial, what you learned, what you loved, what you'd like to see next, and I will see you in our next yarny adventure. Happy crocheting!